Claire, and I recently went on a trip to London, and when I tell you, girl, I was expecting a quaint little trip. Maybe I'd get some high tea, I'd visit some bookshops, and maybe I'd casually run into Emma Watson or Meghan Markle in a cafe. But honestly, girl, I was fighting for my life the majority of this trip, mostly due to my own lack of research and preparation before this trip, because it was so cold and so wet and so expensive, and I showed up with a mini skirt, a slip dress, and the naivete of a untraveled 20-something girl ready to explore a new city. And so this was one of those trips that isn't super relaxing or necessarily even fun, but instead a trip where I was trying to figure things out and familiarize myself in a foreign country, more of a learning opportunity, if you will. That said, I still had a lovely time, and I wanted to document it in this little time capsule while the memories and feelings I had are still fresh. So I settled in for the 8-hour flight, and I watched this riveting trivia game between PP and Poopy, actually. Because I could see what the correct answers were after they answered, there definitely was a part of me that did consider joining in on the next game and trolling PP and Poopy, but I rose above and watched Sinners instead. I ate my airplane food, which I know plane food gets a bad rep, but I actually love plane food, I realized. The flight went pretty smoothly. I landed in London, full of hope, full of dreams, ready for some adventure, ready to take on the city. Guys, I've encountered my first problem. The adapter that I have is not the right one, so I am charging my phone through my laptop. Guys, update, I am so crusty. It's so rough. I thought I had a meeting for work, so I woke up. I did not have a meeting for work, so I was silly. Things I have to do. I have to get dinner. I think I'm gonna go to get pho, and then I need to pick up adapter. We have tackled the obstacle I had to do today. Now I'm gonna get some food. People keep jaywalking, and it's making me feel really silly waiting here. Okay. Guys, I couldn't fall back asleep. So at 6 a.m. I just got ready. I might need to come back to take a nap. Here's my dilemma, right? This is what I'm thinking. Part of me is like, okay, should I go to breakfast? Or should I just go out, have a classic English breakfast, and spend the day by myself? I think the plan is to wait for the breakfast to open because I'm so hungry. Oh my god, I should have trimmed my bangs before I came. As I waited for the kitchen to open, I decided to break out my journal, which has been admittedly quite neglected, but I knew I wanted to document how I was feeling during this trip, and I think journaling and writing are the best ways of preserving a feeling and experience. So I sat down in the lobby of my hostel and did some journaling. Now, this was basically just me hyping myself up, to be honest. I was feeling really apprehensive, and so I wrote, "I'm about to start my first day of this trip, and I'm nervous. Why? I feel almost guilty spending this money, and I want to make sure I have a fun time. I had such a lovely trip when I went to Portugal, and I think I'm worried I've built some high expectations for this trip, but that's silly. I'll have a good time because I'll be experiencing things for the first time, trying new foods, and I get a whole week of just doing fun things by myself. That's like a dream. I usually only let myself spend money when it's for a social thing, but this week it's just a chance to hang out with myself, doing the things I usually deprive myself of. Girl, just have fun. Don't let expectations dictate your experience. You're gonna walk into that breakfast buffet, break out your book, and then go about your day and rock it, girl."
Yeah, so this was a very overly positive journal entry because I think I just needed the comfort of those words. And I actually did feel better after I had hyped myself up. So by the time I finished, I was still ravenous and it was only like 6:15 a.m. So I decided to walk to a nearby coffee house that opened up earlier, and I did in fact break out my book there and rock it.
I'm stuck at this crossroad right now because I don't know how to navigate my way across. I just came from over here, right? Now how do I get over here? Like, you would assume that it's this crosswalk right here, but that's for over there. How do I get from here to there?
After a delicious classic English breakfast, I started wandering around and stumbled across St. Paul Cathedral, which I toured, and it was so stately and ornate and beautiful, and oh my god. And then I made my way to Aroma Cafe, which was a chaotic cafe experience because it was just so busy. Like, there was a line to sit in the cafe, and the line got even crazier by the time I had finished. This couple tried to budge me in line, which I did let happen because I have a hard time standing up for myself, but the server saw it happen and he came and got me. And then I paid $12 for this glorified piece of toast, which was delicious, but unfortunately tasted identical to a late night snack I make with a hamburger bun, brown sugar, and butter. I then wandered over to Oxford Street, and at this point my wallet was not safe. I made this purchase, which I deeply regret, of an intimacy top, which has been on my wish list for a while, but it was extremely pricey for a see-through top. I then did some more shopping. Guys, before we continue, I need to explain something. I did miss budget for this trip, and that was definitely due to my own lack of preparation and research. I did have friends that told me that London was super expensive, but I guess I just figured it wouldn't be that bad. But oh girl, it was bad. Essentially everything there is priced the same way as it is in Canada, except for each cursedly strong pound you need 2 little meat Canadian dollars. And this was so rough, girl. I realized pretty early on that I needed to take stock and make priorities of where I'd be spending my money, and I settled on clothes rather than food. In the words of Carrie Bradshaw, I just felt it fed me more. So that is why it seems like I'm a bit of a spender here. Trust me, I had to sacrifice comfort in other categories, such as feeding myself. So after hitting some stores, I got really sleepy and I headed back to the hostel for about a 5-hour nap. My body still hadn't caught up to London time, and I woke up at around 8 p.m. starving. So I ended my day with a McDonald's run and some more journaling. This was a little bit more emo, so I will just recount the beginning. I wrote, I finished my first day in London, and honestly, I think I might be a little depressed right now, not because I'm in London, but because all of my problems have somehow magnified and become more apparent now that I have all this time to myself. I'm an adult, and I feel nothing like it. I feel directionless and amorphous, and like I just want to take up the littlest amount of space most times. How did I get here? Was there one decision that tipped the scale and led me to this point of disarray? Why can't I believe in myself? Why do I think so low of myself? I deserve respect, so why can't I give myself it? Yes, if you think that's emo, it gets even worse.
I do think that traveling puts me in a headspace where I'm confronted with my own feelings through a different frame. Being in another country, disrupting your normal routines, your typical lines of thought, I think it sort of gives you this distance from your regular life to take it in and reflect on what you're unhappy with, what you want from life. And I think also just having more time and quietness in your head as you're wandering streets, you're forced to think about the things and feel the feelings that normally drown out with work and school and friends. And I remember feeling this way last time I traveled as well. So this day I decided to explore Brick Lane, which is one of the most culturally significant streets in London. It's a street in the East End known for its vintage shops, street art, and long history of immigration. I didn't know this before I started making this video, but I ended up doing a deep dive into Brick Lane, and man, there is such a history there that I wish I had looked into before I actually went. I spent the majority of this day shopping around and weaving in between the vintage shops and also like a lot of cool UK brands that were very pricey even without the currency exchange. But like I said, I decided to prioritize shopping this trip. So one of the shops I hit on this day was Peachy Den. I did end up getting this top, which was girl, it was $180, and I was able to get a discount because of a broken clasp, so it was around $140. I know, and normally I would not ever considered dropping this much money on clothes, but I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'm in London right now. It's okay if I buy some things that I'll only be able to buy here. So I also ended up buying a few more things later on the trip. And I have not clothing shopped since. So don't sue me. I was still operating within a budget. I don't know why I'm defending myself, girl. But anyways, walking through some of the vintage shops, and I, unfortunately, I'm not a huge thrift store connoisseur, and a lot of the clothing pieces I have are thrifted or were like traded for free from clothing swaps. However, that's because I've had like really talented friends. I usually don't have the attention span to stay long enough to like hunt for hidden treasures. For me, I see this mass of unappealing clothing, but by the time they've combed through the rack, they have this huge pile of really cute vintage Y2K inspired things you would find on your Pinterest board, like piled up in their cart. And so I have lived a life of thrifting nepotism because I will just take the discards from their pile. So when I'm by myself, I'm not a huge thrifter. Although I was surrounded by all these really cool vintage shops with all of these really cool pieces, I did not buy anything. Also, they were really, really expensive, girl. And there was one especially called Nordic Poetry, which I stopped by because I saw it in an Ava Malouche vlog. It was locked and you had to knock on the door to be let in. And I was like, okay, is this necessary? But then after taking a look at the prices, I realized why, because a lot of designer brands were present, and it was decorated with all these Polaroid pictures of previous famous customers. So I was like, okay, so this store was not made for someone in my tax bracket. However, it was still a very cool experience. I also stopped at Bricklane Bookshop, which was probably the highlight of my day because it was just so quaint and so cozy. I was deciding between these two books, and I ended up going with Mongrel, which was like my trip book. And I did not consume literature at the same speed that I did in Portugal, and I think that's because I gave myself more data this time. So there were a lot of times where I pulled out my phone rather than like pull out the book. Another note to self, I really like this idea of buying a book as a souvenir and also having like this book that is now associated with a trip. I really enjoyed this book. And then afterwards I headed back to my hostel at around like 4 p.m. for another 5-hour nap. So actually my sleep schedule is still pretty on the mend. That is the end of this vlog. Thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well. I missed you. I missed making these little vlogs. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.